What's up, guys? Welcome back to Corvette Weekly. This is, of course, the show where we have all kinds of discussions about Corvettes, whether it's ownership, maintenance, cheapest way to insure your Corvette, of course, which is National Corvette Museum Insurance right there, or NCM Insurance. But basically, this is the show where we discuss anything and everything Corvette. Of course, we just had a little bit of a teaser trailer this morning from Chevy regarding the C8 Corvette ZR1. That's pretty much what tonight's video is going to be all about because, yeah, we got some new tidbits of information in that trailer. And there's actually, in like an 11-second trailer, there's about 2 or 3 different items that have been, we'll say, confirmed because some of this stuff seems pretty likely to happen at this point. So, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Corvette Weekly. Like I said, guys, before we get too much into it, I do want to tell you that this show is sponsored by NCM Insurance. And I know a lot of you guys out there have gone there already and saved a bunch of money. But if you are new to the channel and you're not sure about what insurance company to use on your Corvette or your special weekend car, check out NCM Insurance. It does not have to be a Corvette you're insuring, and they typically will save you about 50%. I know if Blue Vet is in here, I actually was just talking to him this past week, and he saved about 52% on his insurance bill for his C6 Grand Sport. So definitely check it out. Step number 5, you're going to want to put in there how you heard about us. Just put in horsepower obsessed, and you will get the best possible discount, and it does help out the channel a little bit. So basically, guys, I just want to say hi to everybody coming in. I see Kevin Horan, Elijah, Lewis, Kerry Glock, John Perkins, Bill Miller, which is actually somebody who sent me a little tidbit of information we're going to be talking about later. Bill actually says, hi, Justin and Amber. It's just me today. I'm down in Florida, so my wife is still in Pennsylvania. But yeah, guys, if you could, please, like DBM Racing, David said, smash the thumbs up button. Let me know you're liking the content. Of course, we're going to be talking a lot about the ZR1 today. And yeah, Blue Vet is in here. He saved 52% by changing his insurance over to NCM Insurance. 52. That's nothing to scoff at. That is a massive amount of money to save just by changing insurance companies. So yeah, definitely check it out, guys. But let's see. Brandon's Garage says, hey, Justin, like the backdrop. Yeah, I just got this set up. This is in my townhouse down here in Florida. Last time I did a live video from here, I did it from my bedroom, and I got a lot of flack because people could see, you could see the bed in the background. Even though I had it made and everything, you know, you weren't seeing anything gross. I got a lot of flack for it. So today I'm up in my loft. I set it up here to make it look a little more stream worthy. So let's see. Yeah, Amber says nice lighting. Thanks, Amber. Yeah, Elijah says 52% is big league savings. Awesome NCM Insurance. Yeah, like 52%, that's nothing to scoff at, man. That is a huge savings. But yeah. So anyway, guys, if you guys could please smash the thumbs up button. Like I said, we have a lot to talk about tonight, mostly regarding the ZR1, but there are a couple other little things in here for the C8 Corvette in general, not just the ZR1, but the majority of what we're talking about tonight is going to be more speculation, but some kind of confirmed little tidbits of the ZR1 that are coming out now because of these new teaser trailers GM keeps dropping. We're going to be seeing this car here very soon. I would say a month and a half to 2 months at most before we actually see this car, if I had to guess, because they keep teasing the fact that we're going to see it by summer of 24. And I really feel like they're going to reveal this car before Taj is gone. So I can't imagine it's going to be much later than like near the end of July at the latest. So I think it's coming pretty soon. Miami Vice lighting. Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm in Miami. Might as well make it, or I'm in Florida, so might as well make it the same. What's up, guys? Yeah, AARPM, how's it going, man? Thanks everybody for tuning in again. I always appreciate seeing you guys in here. I know you have maybe better things to do on a Monday night live or a Monday night, but yeah, we're here to do some live Corvette talk. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, right? So let's see. Darren Burnett says, hey guys, Justin, I'm here but driving, pulled over at the moment, so I'm listening. Thanks, Darren. Appreciate it. Always a good supporter of the channel. Yeah, Elijah says C8 ZR1 sounds good. Aggressive turbos like McLaren and Koenigsegg. So, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start this video off by for any of you who haven't seen the teaser trailer yet, I'm gonna play the teaser trailer for you right now because I want you guys to, number one, I want you to hear it before we start talking about it. So any of you who haven't heard it yet, I'm gonna pop it up here on the screen in 1 second. And there I am. Okay, so this is the video that GM Chevy dropped for us a little earlier today. So I'm going to play it for you, and then we're going to talk about it because there is a lot to talk about. What's up, Matt? How you doing? So here comes the video, guys. Turn up your speakers if you can, because the biggest question I'm going to have for you after this is if you think this is a flat plane crank or a cross plane crank engine. All right, so flat plane or cross plane? I'm going to put a poll up here because I do not think, I still don't hear a flat plane crank here, but I know a lot of people have messaged me today saying, oh, this is definitely a flat plane crank. I just don't hear it, but I'm curious what you guys are thinking. So based on that trailer alone, no other trailer. So I've heard only one video that I think the C8 ZR1 sounded like a flat plane crank, but this isn't it. So based on this video, do you think it sounded like a flat plane crank? All right, here comes the poll. Let me know what you think. Yes or no? Flat plane crank, yes or no? Again, just based on this video. And I'm getting a lot of people all right off the bat saying, yeah, it's a cross plane crank. And I agree. I don't hear a flat plane crank in this video, but I've heard a couple people respond back to me and say, yeah, it's definitely a flat plane, but I don't hear it, man. So we got 2020 Matrix 8 saying cross plane crank. Gary says cross plane crank. David DBM Racing says it's not a flat plane crank. Elijah says he thinks it's a flat plane. Robert says flat plane. Flying Cop Car says it sounds like a 720. It's funny, I just saw a 720S yesterday near my townhouse here, and I thought it sounded like a C8 Z06. So saying that this video sounds like a 720S, I don't hear it, man. The 720S does not sound like that to me. Kevin Horan says cross plane crank. Yeah, Eric Turner says you're trying to say they would put one in the Z06, but not the ZR1. That would be odd. Well, the biggest reason is it's not necessarily an odd thing. It's just flat plane cranks don't respond as well to being forced induction as obviously a regular naturally aspirated does. So basically, if you're going to throw turbos at this, it makes more sense for it to be a cross plane crank. Now, I want to clear up some air here because I know I've already gotten some people pointing fingers at me saying, well, you said it was going to be a cross plane crank. I said, no, I said it's unlikely to be a flat plane crank, and this is why. I'm not saying it's definitely not going to be a flat plane crank because it could be, but they're going to have to reduce displacement. They're going to have to reduce compression ratio in order to throw twin turbos at this thing. Otherwise, GM is going to have a reliability nightmare on their hands. So it is possible, 100%, it is possible, but it's not going to be the exact same engine out of a Z06 put into a ZR1 with turbos on it. It can't be. So this just kind of reminds me of the situation that Ford was in not too long ago, where they had the GT350 with a flat plane crank. Then they brought out the GT500, but they wanted to supercharge it, and they totally abandoned the GT350 flat plane crank and went with a cross plane crank with a supercharger instead. It's just more reliable. So I really think that that's the case here, but it's so hard to tell because we're going to talk about a little bit more information here in a second that's really going to make it even more muddy. The answer is going to be even more muddy once I start dropping some other information from this trailer on you, because a lot of information from this trailer points to the fact that this engine is a flat plane crank. So we're talking about all this stuff, talking about how it's not, but at the same time, it seems like it might be. So, yeah, let's see. Brand's Garage says that does not sound like an LT6 at all, to me anyway, with turbos. I agree. Tech Speed says crossplane. Aaron AARPM says crossplane. Mean Pearson says crossplane. Images of smoke. Yeah, 2020 Matrix 8. If it is a flat plane crank, it is definitely going to outshine the Z06. So another reason why I kind of don't think it would be, but at the same time, it could be. So let's see. Flat plane, if it was cross plane, it would have more muscular sound. Well, you got to remember there are turbos muffling the sound. So you can only muffle the sound so much to make it sound like not a flat plane crank. But if you muffle a cross plane crank, it's going to sound just like your normal engine, only less muscular, which is exactly what you're describing. So it's probably a cross plane. Twin charged. Yeah, I know. I keep hearing that, man. If this thing ends up being twin charged, Supercar Ranch has talked about that. I don't know, a couple months ago now. He will be one. He'll be the only one that has talked about that. And if it ends up actually being cross or twin charged, he is going to have pulled that answer out of nowhere, which is fantastic. I almost hope that it is twin charged, just so his research and stuff pays off, because it would be absolutely insane if this engine ends up being twin charged. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Brand's Garage says that sound of that engine did not seem like low displacement flat plane crank. It was too deep, and he's leaning towards cross plane as well. Well, Bill, you're actually wrong on my account anyway. I hear a stock C8 Z06 probably 2 or 3 times a week. Being at Blackout Tinning, we get so many Z06s in there, and they're almost always brand new with stock exhausts. I hear them all the time. Darren says, yeah, I'm driving a Corvette, and that does not sound at all like a typical flat plane crank. I agree. And then, yeah, Elijah, I said the same thing. It could be a lower displacement. It would have to be. If they're going to go with a flat plane crank, it would have to be lower displacement or at least lower compression ratio with the twin turbos, which is going to give it a different sound, definitely. But yes, Lewis, the LT6 was bespoke to the Z06, and that's another reason why it's not going to be the exact same engine. It was never going to be the LT6 with twin turbos. It can't be. GM flat out told us this was bespoke to the Z06. So either they lied, which is not a great thing, or they will say they fibbed, so they didn't have to give us any information on an upcoming car. But either way, I don't see that being the case. No, I don't think they're going to be built-in turbos like the Benz or Blackwing. It doesn't make sense in this build based on their new air intakes on the back, like rear shoulders of the car. I feel like the air intakes back there are specifically there to cool the turbos, so I think they're going to be kind of pushed out. Vet Sweetnoss says Supercar Ranch figured it out. Yeah, I mean, again, if he's right about the twin charge, which I mean, there is literally like a 1% chance that that's the case, but if he ends up being right, that's insane. Yeah, so Flying Cop Car, I was told the same thing, that apparently the ZR1 is going to be limited. Now, I was told that it was going to be limited, and then I was also told by a different dealership that it was a production car, normal production car, and it was not going to be limited. So I've heard both sides of this spectrum. Now, this could be a confusion thing coming in because the Zora, which is coming after the ZR1, I believe the Zora is going to be super limited. I don't think the ZR1 is going to be super limited. Maybe at first it will be, just like all of the models have been up until this point. They're going to be super hard to get right off the bat, but eventually they're going to get easier to get. I don't think the ZR1 is going to be limited. I think the Zora is going to be. Yeah, David, I've been saying the same thing too, that he says, I've said forever that they're going to do just like they did with the Ford GT350 and the GT500. And that's what I'm saying. Like the GT350 was a flat plane crank, and then the GT500, they abandoned it for reliability reasons. You can turbocharge a flat plane crank. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't do that. You can. It limits reliability. And when you have to offer a warranty on these cars, reliability ends up becoming a thing. Yeah, Bill Miller, I've been saying that too. Flat plane crank with lower compression for forced induction. It is possible. It is 100% possible. Again, I don't want to have my words twisted here, which I've already gotten a bunch today, that apparently some people have been saying that I've been saying it's impossible. It is not impossible. It is unlikely that GM would do this. Matt Hurley says, play it again for us one more time. You got it, Matt. Let me switch over here and get it played again. Here we go. All right, so guys, one more time, I'm going to play this video because you got to listen closely. Tell me what you think. Again, I do not hear a flat plane crank here. I don't. But again, it is possible. So, let's see. Rick Conti in here. He says, hey guys, only here for a few, but yes, ZR1 is not intended to be a volume car, limited because they won't make what we need. So yeah, like I said, I've heard this both ways at this point, but with Rick saying it, I do want to believe that this is the case, but I don't understand how it's going to be super limited when we still have 3 to 4 years left on the run of the C8. So it's possible. I just don't see why they would do that with the ZR1 if they indeed intend on making the Zora as well. Yeah, so Matt Hurley says, man, I don't know. It does sort of sound like my old 765 LT. See, again, I heard a 720S just yesterday, and I immediately thought it sounded more like a C8 Z06. I don't know. It's so confusing with this because I want to believe there's so many reasons in my head I believe this is a flat plane crank, but at the same time, my more like warranty conscientious side of me says it can't be. There's just no way GM would do that. But again, I said the same thing whenever the Z06 was coming out. I was like, there's no way GM makes this flat plane crank over 5 liters. It gets too unreliable at that point. And here we are with a 5.5 liter LT6. So it absolutely is possible. Brian's Garage says, like you said, Justin, more like your C7 ZR1 in sound than the LT6. I agree. The signature sound for the flat plane is not there. I don't know. Flying Cop Car says limited to 1,000 units per year for the total of 5K would be limited enough, but still leaves us room for the Zora. Yeah, that is actually a really good way to do it. Flying Cop Car, that might be exactly how they do it. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, Rick Conti says that basically the model year could be altered. And I've been saying that for a long time as well. So for 2025 to 2026, depending on how GM wants to push out the model year, like they did with the 23 Z06s, there's a very good chance it ends up being a 25 or even pushed into a 26, depending on how late. But if they're revealing it this summer, it's almost guaranteed it's a 25. Now, I like Flying Cop Car's idea here, though, of 1,000 units a year for a 5,000 total. That would leave it limited enough, but still enough options out there for people to actually get this car. And if they do that, be prepared, because if they do it this way, this car is going to fetch a premium forever. It is never going to get cheaper. The way the Z06 has started to come down in price now, that's not going to happen with the ZR1 if they do, in fact, limit this to 5,000 a year, or for the total. New Lamborghini Huracan replacement is a flat plane crank V8 twin turbo. Yeah, what's the displacement on that though? Gerald, that's not going to happen. Very unlikely that would happen. Adding a carbon tub to the Z06. It would be amazing, but I don't see that happening until at least a new generation of Corvette at this point. If a new LT3 comes, it could be cross-plane crank. Most likely would be, yeah. Yeah, so Rick Conti's agreeing with Zor Flying Cop Car will be a 1,000 limited edition as it stands now. Okay, there we go. So pretty much confirmed it's going to be somewhat limited, but it's not as limited as some people have made it sound. Some people made it sound like it was going to be seriously limited, where you were getting like 100 cars at best, and that was it. It wasn't going to be a certain amount per year. So I like this idea better. If they want to limit it, I think this is the best way to do it. But really, the weird thing is that there's only really one reason to limit this car, and it's to keep value up, because this car is going to fetch a premium. Like I said, it's going to be over MSRP for the rest of the existence of the C8 at this point. Matt Hurley says 4-liter twin turbo, 10,000 RPM, red line on new Lamborghini. Okay. So the biggest thing that stands out to me here, other than the fact 10,000 RPM red line is insane, is that it's a 4-liter. So 5.5-liter flat plane crank, it's very unlikely they're just going to throw turbos at that thing and say, there's the LT7. I just don't see that, especially since the LT6 was bespoke to the Z06. So if they're going to say that, then it is. Now, if they tweak this and tweak that out of the LT6 and then they call it an LT7, they're not lying about the fact that the LT6 was bespoke to the Z06. It still could be a flat plane crank at lower displacement, lower compression ratio, twin turbo. Now it's a different engine. So keep that in mind. That's GM's way. So I could really see them doing exactly that. But let's end this thing here. So, do you think the ZR1 sounded like a flat plane crank in the latest teaser? 40% said yes, 60% said no. So about 60 people said no, and about 40 people said yes. That really doesn't get us any further forward, to be honest with you. We're still at about a 50-50 spread here. There's not, it's really hard to tell at this point, but it just seems like to me, if they're going a flat plane crank, it's going to be a smaller displacement. That's pretty much what I've been saying since day one. But yeah. So now let's get into why I believe. I know I just said I don't think it's going to be a flat plane crank, but let's get into starting to talk about why I think it might actually be. I know, totally just off the freaking charts here. It's insane. But Motor One website here actually started talking about some Easter eggs, and apparently the 26 Corvette ZR1 will have a twin turbo Z06 engine. Now, again, I don't know if it's going to be exactly the engine out of the Z06. There's a lot of reasons why I don't think it will be, but there's a very subtle Easter egg and the distinctive whooshing sounds of a turbocharger that give a strong hint at a C8 ZR1's engine. So the video we just watched, when paused in the right spot, shows an Easter egg. And Chevrolet said that there is an Easter egg in this video, and Motor One seems to think they found it. So here it is. Now, this is the really interesting part here. If you look at the flames coming out of the car at one point, it very clearly shows what looks like the same little rocket that is imprinted on the side of the Z06 engine in a couple different places for the Gemini thing. And they also talked about it being a moonshot. Basically, they got the idea of the 5.5-liter flat plane crank engine for the Z06, and they thought it was such a wild idea, and they weren't even 100% sure originally they were going to be able to make it happen. So it was like a moonshot. It was like a possible thing that could happen, but there was no real proof that they could make this thing happen. Now we're seeing that same rocket in this teaser trailer. Now, I don't see any other reason why that would be included in there unless this engine is a flat plane crank and possibly built on, at least, if nothing else, similar architecture to the LT6. I don't know why else they would do this. So I'm so back and forth with this stuff, guys, because it makes sense that it would be an LT or a flat plane crank, but at the same time, it makes sense that it wouldn't be. So it's so Chevy is really doing, they're messing with our minds here. Like, we want to know what this thing is, and they are purposely making it so hard to tell. It's insane. Let's see. Why would they put the rocket Easter egg in the new video if it didn't have anything to do with the Z06 engine? Well, I just said it could be a similar architecture. There's just no way it's the same exact engine with turbos on it. It's just, I can't see how that would be possible at all. But unless they figured something out that none of us know. Paul Younger says, one thing's for sure, Justin will sell all to get a ZR1. As long as it is a flat plane crank. And this is how you guys should know. I'm not 100% sure that it's not a flat plane crank, nor am I saying it's impossible, because I want it to be a flat plane crank. That's the only way I'm going to buy one, is if it is a flat plane crank. Because if it's not, I don't want to get rid of the sound that the Z06 has. I literally, I'm totally intoxicated by it. I love the sound of the Z06. So to get out of that into a ZR1 that's now a cross-plane crank again, I'm going to be disappointed. So I want it to be a flat plane crank. I want to be wrong about the fact that this isn't a flat plane crank. I want to be wrong about it. I don't think that it is. I want it to be. So there it is. Let's see. I think it will be revealed at Carlisle. I think it will be there. I don't know if it will be a big reveal, but I think the car will be there. Yeah, and I thought that same thing. Paul Yunker says maybe the rocket is there because it's a different type of moonshot than the LT6, I think is what he meant to say. So it's the same kind of thing, possibly. They're building this engine in a way that is just as much of a moonshot as the LT6 was, possibly even more so, because it is now turbocharged. Yeah, exactly, Aaron. It's like I look back at these comments and you're literally saying exactly what I just said. So we're all on a very similar mindset here, where it's tough to say yes or no, or that we would want it to be or we don't want it to be. There's benefits to both sides, whether it's a flat plane or a cross plane. I would love to see it be a flat plane just because of the sound. Like I said, I don't want to get rid of it, but it just doesn't make sense to me on the warranty side to be a flat plane when the cross planes are more reliable when it has forced induction. No. So Mike Lewis, the only way I would do this is I would trade my current C8 Z06 for the new C8 ZR1. But I'm only going to do that if the new C8 ZR1 is a flat plane crank. I don't want to get rid of my C7 ZR1. It's very unlikely I'll ever sell that car. So I don't want to do that. Yeah, we're all in agreement. It's awesome that we all have a similar mind or a similar thought process on this, because it is one of those things where, like it or not, there's not a guaranteed answer here. No one really knows exactly what's happening with this. And even the people that are in the know, some of the sources that I've had that have told me it's definitely this or it's definitely that, they're going back and forth, because apparently Chevy is going back and forth. There's engines that they're testing, and they're putting the engine in the car, and then they're saying, yeah, that's it. And then they're finding out it's not it, and they're changing the engine. So the people who are in the know don't even know. That's how crazy all this has been. But anyway, guys, if you're enjoying the talk, please smash the thumbs up button. Let us know you're liking the content. It looks like we have 76 thumbs ups currently. We have almost 200 people in here watching. Definitely smash the thumbs ups. Let us know you're liking the content. It really helps the channel a lot, and it lets me know what we need to discuss further in the future. So please hit that thumbs up. Let's see what else. CJB say it having a flat plane crank would be a huge bonus. 100%. 100%. It would be the reason I buy the car. What will create the unthinkable speed? Z06 came up short on top speed. And that's exactly what I think the unthinkable speed is. I think it is referring to top speed, because just like the C7 ZR1 broke the 200-mile-an-hour barrier, I believe the C8 ZR1 will do the same. It's going to be mostly because of aerodynamics, not necessarily power. It's going to be aerodynamics, just like it was with the C7 ZR1. There was a lot more aerodynamic stuff set up to it. There was obviously more speed or more horsepower as well, which this car will have, just like the C7 ZR1. It will be 850 plus is what I'm hearing. So the aerodynamics will allow the car to basically hit that 200 plus miles an hour. And like I said, the unthinkable speed, that's what they're referring to. Mike Lewis says, has Chevrolet said how many ZR1s will be produced? No, they haven't, but we just had a user in the comment section here come up with a really good idea, a flying cop car. And he said, if they limit it to 1,000 units per year, 5,000 altogether, I think that's a really good way to do it. Wally Gator says, enjoying the content, Justin. Great job. Shout out to the community. How we doing, everyone? I think we're all doing pretty well. We're talking about a new teaser trailer from Chevy on the C8 ZR1, but I appreciate the sentiments there, guys. If you could please smash the thumbs up button, let Wally Gator know that you're enjoying this stuff as much as he is, and it helps out the channel a lot. We're up to 91 thumbs ups, guys. We could definitely use some more. I'd like to hit 200 by the end of the night if we can. Yeah, DBM Racing, the C6 ZR1 was a 200-mile-an-hour car as well, and that's where the fight for the C7 ZR1 to hit 200 miles an hour came from, because the C7 Z06 fell a little bit short. With the C7 ZR1, they wanted to capture that C6 ZR1 magic again, and I think they're going to do the same thing with the C8 ZR1. It's going to be a big push to get it to over 200 miles an hour, and I put money on the fact that's what the unthinkable speed comment is all about. It's about that top speed. Uh, yeah. CJB says, I hope there will be enough made to get my second spot on the list with no markup. If they really do only limit the ZR1 to 1,000 units per year, I feel like you're going to be paying a markup on this car for a long time. So I doubt you're going to see many at MSRP. Paul Lamonco says, Justin, you're doing a great job. We're not. Thanks for the great job. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome too, though. I'll be honest with you. Without you guys, none of this is possible. So I appreciate every one of you. John Perkins says active aero would be cool. There is still a chance, from what I've seen, that there is possibly an active aero spoiler on this car, especially if you do check that ZTK box. I think that's going to make it possibly active, if not active, at least adjustable, the way it was with the C7 ZR1. Yeah, Nubian says, it's crazy because it doesn't sound like either. GM is the best at disguising stuff and keeping secrets. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't see why in a teaser trailer they would alter the sound. I really don't feel like they are. But at the same time, they very well could be. And if that's the case, then why even give us a teaser trailer? You're teasing something that's fake. You know what I mean? It makes it crazy. David, DBM Racing says, Justin, let Steven Rapp know his struts are on the way. So Steven Rapp, I did see you in here for a second. If you're still in here, David has sent your struts, so they're coming. Definitely agree, Justin. It will be virtually impossible not to pay a big markup on the ZR1, small production and big demand. Unfortunately, that's it. All right. So yeah, the turbos could change the sound, and they definitely are. That's the thing, is no matter how you slice it, flat plane, cross plane, the turbos are altering the sound of this car. And they're gonna muffle it. But if you muffle a flat plane crank, and we heard it muffled a couple times whenever GM had him over at the Nürburgring, it still sounds like a flat plane crank. I could easily tell the C8 Z06 when they were testing it. I could easily tell it was a flat plane crank. The ZR1 does not sound like a flat plane crank. It sounds like a muffled cross plane crank to me. I've only seen one video, and it was the one we played last week or the week prior, where somebody found some of the ZR1s in a parking lot and they were standing right behind it. That is the only video I've ever seen that the C8 ZR1 sounded like a flat plane crank to me. There are sources inside GM that I have that said, or that have told me basically, that it was a flat plane crank. And then I've heard from other sources in GM that said it was a cross plane crank and that it always has been. I honestly believe GM is testing 2 or possibly more versions of this thing, and they're flip-flopping because even the guys inside GM don't know. They're telling me, guaranteed it's this. I run with that information, and then I hear from someone else in GM saying, no, it's guaranteed this. And I'm like, well, I don't know which way to even go with this, because these 2 sources inside GM don't even know for sure which engine it's going to be. It's insane. This is probably the best kept secret GM has ever done. What's up, Brent? How you doing, man? Oh, Texas Clay. After 68 years, 25 in the Army, and a bout of prostate cancer, I'm taking delivery of a Z06 this Friday at the NCM. Very nice, Texas Clay. Big congratulations, guys. Smash the thumbs up button. Let Texas Clay know. Big congratulations to him. He's getting an awesome car, and he deserves it. He's done a lot for the country and everything. Cancer's no joke, so congratulations on the car. And that's it. J.R. Griffith, whatever the engine is, if it's not reliable, it's going to be a PR nightmare. And that's where this whole thing comes in for me, is that if we take the Z06 engine out of a Z06 and just plop it into a ZR1 and do nothing different but add turbos to it, it is not a reliable engine. It can't be. You can't do that. It's going to be a nightmare for warranty purposes. If they take the Z06 engine, the LT6, and they modify this, and this, make maybe a smaller displacement, maybe lower compression ratio, and then throw turbos on it, now not only are you talking about a different engine, but you're talking about better reliability. You're talking about a warranty that can be actually done or handled with GM. Yeah, 2020 Matrix 8. I think they're actually testing more than two. Based on some of the answers I've got from my sources inside GM, and these are sources I've used in the past that haven't been wrong. Both of them are giving me different answers. And it's like they're both convinced that the answer they're giving me is the right answer. I think, honestly, both of them don't realize that the other one exists and that the other engine is also a possibility. Or they've had a lot of problems with engines that they've tested. They've been testing engines and having failures and changing things, and then testing a new engine, having failures, changing things. I believe at one point it could have been the LT6 with twin turbos, but I would be willing to bet that was a problem almost immediately. So they rapidly changed that. Now, one other thing I did want to mention really quick is the fact that Bill Miller, who's actually in the comment section here, he actually sent me a picture of something I wanted to talk about. If you guys remember, not too long ago, Savage Geese went and set up shop in the actual assembly line down at the National Corvette Museum. They wanted to, and they filmed kind of the cars being built as they were coming down the line. And at one point in that video, you actually see this, and this is a block. It looks like maybe holding a crankshaft in place, possibly determining torque on bolts. I'm not sure exactly what it's doing, but you can clearly see it says LT6/LT7. So this block is holding a crankshaft, and it's built to do so for the LT6 and the LT7. This is another argument that this car is going to, if nothing else, it is going to share some architecture from the LT6, because if it didn't, it wouldn't share these kind of tools either. So this was in the Savage Geese video, which is now over a year old, and I don't know that anybody's ever noticed this before. I didn't see this. Now, that video is like 40 minutes long or something, so I didn't watch through the entire thing with a fine-tooth comb, but that's pretty cool. That tells me, like I said, number one, the engine is going to be hand-built. Number two, it shares a lot of similarities with the LT6, which, again, probably says it's going to be a flat-plane crank. So, again, where are we with this? Like, everybody says it sounds like a cross-plane crank. Some people say it sounds like a flat plane. I'm saying it can't be a 5.5 liter because of warranty concerns. But then we see a tool like this that it's the same as the one from the LT6. Or is Chevy purposely putting out tools that say LT6/LT7 to really keep us off the trail? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. All right, guys, we got 230 people in here watching. We got 115 thumbs ups. It'd be really cool if we could get those numbers to match, guys. Please smash the thumbs up button. Let us know you're liking the content. We are, again, here talking about the C8 ZR1 and about how it could be a flat plane crank, it could be a cross plane crank, and why on both sides. Why it could be a flat plane and why it could be a cross plane. Again, I'm still stuck at 50-50. There's nothing that's pushing me more so to one side. And then another thing is in the very beginning of the teaser trailer, and I'll see if I can get it to that point here. So right here, I'm going to put this over on that beginning part where the car comes racing down and it creates those two kind of, and they're moving like a tornado almost. This tells me that it is obviously a twin turbo. Now, the way these move, and I'm going to play it for you real quick, because the way these move, I have another theory. So you see the way they're twisting outwards, almost like a tornado. That is very reminiscent of a twin screw supercharger. So again, this brings us all the way back to two different things. Could it possibly be twin charged, like Supercar Ranch has said? Maybe. But could it also possibly just be supercharged? Maybe it's not twin turboed at all. Maybe it's supercharged. Because those definitely look like twin screws. But it kind of could just be the air, again, showing that it's going to be a twin turbo and then the air kind of spiraling in. There's so many questions. There are so many questions. I know a lot of you out there have asked me in the past, why is it that the car couldn't be supercharged? And it's not that it couldn't be. It just seems like GM was going with a turbocharger to stick with the exotic setup of the car. But now with little kind of Easter eggs like that, now I'm kind of wondering, maybe there is some merit to this twin charge thing. Like, how crazy would it be if we get a twin charged car? I mean, the only one that I know of that exists is a Koenigsegg. And other than that, they're privately built cars. They're super hard to tune. They're super hard to offer reliability on. But how crazy would it be if GM did it? Yeah, Mike, we've been talking about that the entire night, actually. He says, could it be a smaller displacement flat plane? Yeah, so if they reduce the displacement and specifically reduce the compression ratio, it could. They could turbocharge the flat plane crank, but it's unlike GM to make two completely different engines whenever they have access to cross plane cranks already that would very reliably hold the power of a turbocharge. Now, it is more likely for them to do that if they're also going to make this a rare car. If they're going to only make 1,000 of them a year, then all of a sudden, yes, that makes perfect sense. They would take the LT6, reduce the displacement, reduce the compression ratio, throw twin turbos at it, and there's your engine. So, absolutely. Very again, Mike Lewis says since since Chevrolet modeled the Z06 after the Ferrari 458, wouldn't it make sense Chevrolet now models the ZR1 on the 488? And it would be the same thing. The Ferrari 458 had a higher displacement flat plane crank, and they had to lower that displacement on the 488 to get a twin turbo setup. I've been using that as an example, and the GT350 versus the GT500 as an example as well, just to kind of say it could go either way. I could see Chevy doing it either way. I personally think reliability wise, they're smarter to go with a crossplane crank, but I also think that in order to keep the exotic appeal, that they are going to keep it a flat plane crank. So I literally could see it going either direction at this point. Texas Clay says, I just want to know if the ZR1 is going to get rid of the wall buttons. I don't think so. I don't see that happening until at least if they do a redesign in 26, which they've been saying for a while, the redesign was coming in 25, then that didn't happen. So then they just pushed it back to 26. There's not really any confirmation that an interior design change is coming, but if it does, it's not going to be specifically the wall of buttons. It's going to be the infotainment system. I've been saying since the change coming for 2025, when everybody thought it was coming in 25, I said, I don't think it's going to be specifically the wall buttons. The wall buttons might go away, but that's not what they're targeting. What they're targeting is that all-in-one giant display that's in like a Cadillac Escalade right now, where the OLED displays in front of the driver steering wheel, and it continues along as one unit into the infotainment system. If they do that, there is a possibility that they would also get rid of the buttons and put them all on the screen. So that would be the only reason they would do it. All right, guys, we are at 133 thumbs ups. We got 233 people watching. That means we literally have 100 more people watching than thumbs ups. Smash the thumbs up, guys. Even if you're in here for a millisecond and you watched a little bit of the information, hit the thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Let's see what else we got here. GM will definitely use the architecture of the LT6 as the starting point for the LT7. Scale down as needed to achieve power gains and make it maintainable by GM techs without a huge learning curve. I agree. I do think that if they're going to go with the flat plane crank route, that's the way they're going to do it, because there's no other way. You can't go flat plane crank without keeping it in your head. This thing has to be reliable. You got to be able to offer a warranty on it. Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing is at one point you do see kind of a spiraling thing happening from the back, but again, that could be twin screw from a supercharger. It does look like a turbo. I agree, and I personally can almost guarantee it's going to be a twin turbocharged car. But GM is throwing all kinds of these little Easter eggs at us that make us go, do we really know that? You know, stuff like that. So this whole thing is definitely different. I mean, I expected to know based on sources that I have that I would know immediately what the engine was, which is why I put out a video a while ago talking about what the engine was going to be, because I got that information from a very credible source. And then it was literally a week later, I got information from another credible source that said, no, it's guaranteed. It's a flat plate crank. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, you guys both work for GM and you don't know that the other thing exists. It very strange. GM did not want the information on this car leaking. What do we got here? Brent says, is there confirmation that the ZR won't be limited edition? No, there's no confirmation. There are some people that are talking about it. It's very possible that it would be limited, especially if they do limit it in the way that Flying Cop Car said earlier, where they might limit it to 1,000 a year for 5 years or however many years are left in the C8 lineup. But there's no confirmation. Nothing that we were talking about tonight has been confirmed really in any way, shape, or form. So a lot of this is just speculation at this point. Squirrel Cage. It's nice to see you in here again, man. The ZR1 will 100% come with a 5.5 cross-plane crank. It will not be twin-charged. However, possibly ZTK equals twin turbo and non-ZTK equals supercharger. That's another really good possibility here. So Squirrel Cage Garage, guys, he's kind of the one that helped me out with my C7 ZR1. He helped me out without even knowing it, actually, because I found his video after I had already kind of determined what was wrong with my car. But he helped me feel good about the fix, basically. He's saying that the ZR1 is going to be a 5.5 cross plane, not flat plane, and it will not be twin charged. However, the ZTK might be a twin turbo, while the non-ZTK might be a supercharger. That might define why in this trailer you're kind of getting twin screw supercharger vibes from some of the stuff, because that is going to be an option. Very possible. That's the thing. Aaron, I thought about this too. AARPM says, but the unthinkable. All of this we're talking about is thinkable. So what could be the unthinkable? They're really leaning into that. Seems like a twin turbo setup is thinkable, which is why I kind of said that twin charging thing. There's some validity to it all of a sudden, because that is an unthinkable thing. I don't know. I feel like GM has done this in the past where they'll say, oh, unthinkable or brand new, untouchable, this, that, and the other. And then it's something that's pretty cool, but it's not really unthinkable. If I had to guess, they're just exaggerating. Yeah, Ramon, I've seen it, but they look like turbos, but that doesn't mean that they're turbos. It's just circulating air. I mean, that could be literally anything that spins in a circle, which is a supercharger or a turbocharger or a pro charger. I mean, it doesn't look exactly like a turbo, but I know what you're talking about. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, they're definitely doing this to keep us on our toes. GM doesn't want anybody to definitely know what's coming here, because if we'll say, a Ford executive got wind, oh, hey, the new C8 Corvette ZR1 is going to be a twin turbo flat plane crank, they could easily go out and start building a car that would do just as well, possibly the same kind of setup. Chevy doesn't want any kind of competition before the car's even released. So we're never going to know for sure. But this is definitely the tightest lipped I've ever seen any of the GM representatives be over a car. This is it, because nothing of this car has leaked with any kind of confirmation yet, which is really weird. Yeah. Squirrel Cage says LT7 equals the LT6 with forced induction and cross plane. Cross plane for sure due to balancing issues, and it will probably have AFM. We have seen some articles talking about this car having AFM in the past. I think that would be a huge misstep on GM's part. To have this car have anything like that would be a mistake, if you ask me. But to say that the LT7 is the LT6 with a cross plane, that's kind of an incorrect way to put it too, because if you're changing it from flat plane to cross plane, it is no longer an LT6. It is a totally different engine. And that's kind of what I'm thinking that they're going to do here. 2020 Matrix 8, I've thought about this before too. He says hydrogen does create vapor. And I tried to look into like why GM seems to love the idea of the vapor in these teaser trailers. Like, are they possibly playing around with water cooling, like on the, like spraying water basically on the turbocharger setups, or meth injection, something like that? Because they're playing a lot with vapor, which it could just be a way to, make the video look cool, or it is something to do with possibly even hydrogen, like you're saying, because they keep saying that this is unthinkable. And it would make sense that maybe this car's running on something that's not gas. And Mary Barra recently came out within the last maybe 3 months and said that GM was going to focus less on battery powered cars and more on hydrogen. It is a very real possibility that this car gets some sort of hydrogen setup. So again, we may be looking in the wrong place, just like Aaron AARPM was saying earlier. Maybe a lot of the stuff we're talking about, this is all thinkable stuff. So GM saying unthinkable, yeah, maybe we're talking about hydrogen powered. I mean, how freaking crazy would that be to have a hydrogen powered Corvette? That'd be pretty crazy. Rich says 4.0 flat plane crank, twin turbo. My guess they will take a chapter from McLaren. The only way that this flat plane crank is reliable is with a reduced displacement. So I don't know. They don't really have to go necessarily as low as 4, but I'm thinking at the highest 4.5. Yeah. I thought about hydrogen too. I just didn't want to be the one to say it. Unthinkable. Yes, exactly. Um, could the unthinkable be a manual? Very, very, very unlikely on that one. With this kind of stuff, I hate to ever say absolutely not, because when they're saying unthinkable, it really could be anything, but I don't think so. So there's a couple reasons why, but the biggest one is that center console is just not set up for a manual transmission at this point. Cars and Airplane says, nice C8 silhouette in the background. Keep that in mind for a future Paragon video. Okay. I actually have 2 of these at home that are about 3 times that size. One of them is the Z06 silhouette, and the other one's a C7 ZR1. Jet powered, the unthinkable. You know what? It's kind of funny because someone said on my video earlier, Chopper Larry saying maybe it's a V10. Someone said on one of my videos earlier that they had heard that it was a V12. That's one thing that none of us are really thinking about here, is the possibility of this engine being something bigger than a V8. That's pretty unthinkable. How many Chevy cars do you know that have a V12 in it? It'd be pretty easy to hit 850 horsepower with a V12. Yeah, Taj said in an interview that suppliers would not make a manual for them. Not only that, the manual transmissions in the C7 lineup, believe it or not, now that they're selling for well over what they used to sell for, at the time, manual transmissions were less in demand than automatics. So Chevy kind of started getting away from doing manual transmissions because, like the C7 lineup, only 30% of them were made in manuals. The rest of them were automatics because that's what sold. Yeah, we've seen the inside of some of the test experimental cars. None of them have been manuals. So it's pretty much guaranteed that's not going to be the case. But like I said, I never like to say definitely not, because there's always a chance. Yes. So Paul Yunker, I actually made a video about that years ago. He says, regarding the manual transmission, remember GM patent for the shift by wire? And yes, I made the video about it. GM did patent a shift by or a clutch by wire design that would make a manual transmission possible. Where are we at with this? I mean, there's so many ups and downs and backs and forth. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy that there's this many different variables that could be coming with a future car. Usually 5 years into the run of a new car, we have pretty good ideas of what's possible and what's not possible. There is almost nothing that is off the table for this new ZR1. Almost any of this is possible at this point. All right, guys, we got 230 people watching. We got 159 thumbs ups. Please, guys, smash the thumbs ups. Let's get to 200 by 8:35. We got about 10 more minutes. Smash the thumbs up, guys. There's more than enough people in here. We could easily get to 200. Please, let's do it. It'll be really awesome. It would make me feel really good about all this. Look at that. Look at the fireworks, too. It's really awesome if you guys could do it for me. Smash the thumbs up. It really helps. A hydrogen V8 or V12 manual transmission ZR1. That's ultimately it. That's what it comes down to, right? It really could be anything here, guys. So we've showed the block that says LT6/LT7 on it, which means something is shared between those two engines. Probably a flat plane crank. We've showed some of the Easter eggs in the new teaser trailer showing the little rocket from the LT6 engine, which kind of implies, again, it's probably going to be a flat plane crank. But then the sound in the teaser trailer, assuming GM hasn't altered it, the sound to me does not sound like a flat plane crank. And a lot of you guys don't think it does either. So where are we at? What answers do we actually have here? We really don't have any. GM is keeping very tight-lipped about this stuff. Yeah, that was another thing. Squirrel Cage Garage says the blue flames that are constantly shown also give the possibility of a water/meth injection. I thought the same thing. Again, playing on the vapor setup of the trailer as well, it very well could be something like that. Now, GM would have their hands full with as far as a warranty and even usability side of this if they do have any kind of meth injection, because now you have to rely on the end user to actually put meth or water in the tank. And if they're not doing that, and that causes a problem with any kind of advancement on the engine or anything, that's an issue. That's one more thing that you have to rely on the customer to know to do. And let's face it, most of the time the customers aren't smart enough to be able to do this kind of stuff. Not even smart enough. They don't know this. So a lot of the older, customers of Corvette or customers of any car, most of them don't even know what meth injection is. So if they have to be in control of filling a tank, I don't know. AARPM says rockets burn hydrogen. Again, is this thing hydrogen powered? That would be nuts, but it absolutely could be. Thumbs up for the fireworks. Thanks for your weekly content. Yeah, he's in kissing me. So you're not too far from me. Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Look where we at. 174. We got 26 more to hit the 200. We can do it. We got about 5 to 8 more minutes. Smash the thumbs ups. We got 220 people watching. That means we only need 20 of you that you don't even have to hit the thumbs ups. But it'd be pretty cool if you all did. Crazy says maybe they put the manual or put the controls on the screen and take out the wall for the manual. Yeah, that's probably what they would do with the new updated infotainment screen. So very possible. Tech Speed says, "Hey Justin, great show. Got the Eventuri and AWE switch path. What's next? SP, Soul Performance, high flow cats, or ported throttle bodies?" I would do the high flow cats first. I think the high flow cats are hands down one of the best mods to do on a C8 Z06. Sounds amazing, and you will be blown away by how much better, how much faster the car feels. So with the Eventuri and the Soul Performance cats, the thing is a rocket. No pun intended. Tom Banks says he thinks it's going to be a cross-plane crank. Rob and I took a photo shoot with my car in his Z06. Looks amazing with the forge lights and my sick Altima. Nice. Hydrogen is a heavy fuel system storage system. Yeah, it is, and that's the only reason why. Unless GM figures something out that nobody else has, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. The vapor could be there to show aero effects. I thought that same thing, but it's not really showing aero effects as much as it is showing some sort of twin screw action. So it'd either be a supercharger or a turbo. Yeah. Shane is MIA tonight. I'm not sure. Shane is a pretty busy guy. He works a lot of jobs. So usually when he's on here, it's kind of in between jobs. He's probably at work if I had to guess. BPR06, man, I wish I had an answer for you. The last conversation I had was don't take them off until everything is perfect. So I think maybe they took that to heart and it might be a minute. It might be a minute. We'll see. Mr. Nichols says it's definitely got boost. What's the source of boost? It looks like twin turbo to me, but it could be supercharged. Could be at this point twin charged. Supercar Ranch speculated twin charging. Admitted himself that it's not really something that he thinks is coming, just kind of putting that out there as a thing. And now as we get closer, I kind of feel like he might be right. So we'll see. Definitely going to have more carbon fiber, no doubt about it. The C7 ZR1 went above and beyond when it came to carbon fiber over the C7 Z06. So, yeah. Yeah, John Perkins says, Shane's got 14 jobs. 14. The fact that he has even a minute to get on here to tell you guys to smash thumbs up, that's beyond me. All right, where are we at? 189. We need 11 more, guys. We got 222 watching now. That means 22 of you don't even have to hit thumbs ups. But that also means that 33 of you haven't. So if you guys could please hit the thumbs up button for me. Let's get to 200 before we end this. Would be awesome. I do want to talk about something else really quick before we get into or end the live here. There's actually one other thing I really wanted to discuss, and that is a new option for the C8 Corvette in general, and it is the new visible carbon fiber sill plates. So pretty cool looking option here. It's actually carbon fiber. It says Corvette on it and everything, but you have to be getting a 3LT or a 3LZ to even have that as an option, which I think is kind of weird. I think that's a missed opportunity from GM because you really should be able to get that on any one of these things, but apparently they wanted to limit it to only 3LT, 3LZ cars, so your price is going to go up even further. And of course, with this being a carbon fiber option, looks like it is going to be about $2,200 for 2 carbon fiber door sills. So, or no, 2,000. 2,000 when ordered with the Corvette, $2,200 if you order it after the fact. So, yeah. If you like those, and I kind of do, I think they're pretty cool looking. You have to have a 3LT or 3LZ. Definitely disappointing there. One other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is that Amplify Orange and Accelerate Yellow are no longer available. So if you were looking to order this color on your 2024 Corvette, they're gone. The colors are gone. So Sebring Orange is replacing Amplify, and of course the new competition Yellow is replacing the Accelerate Yellow. So that is going to be new for 25. And if you were looking to get these colors in 24, you're kind of out of luck at this point. But that's pretty much it, guys. So the ZR1 was, of course, the big discussion of the night. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'll be honest with you. But if the only way I'm getting that car is if it is a flat plane crank and also not $250,000. I think it's going to be a tough sell. If it's flat plane crank twin turbo and you can get it maxed out for around 220, it's still pushing me right to the limit of what I can actually afford, but I would do it because it's going to be one hell of a car. GM always has a carbon fiber limit, and this is their way to limit that option by mandating. You're probably right. GM has an issue keeping up with carbon fiber demand. This is definitely their way of kind of leveling it out. Gordon Cruz says, outstanding, Justin. Thank you. Thank you, Gordon. Guys, I think Jose, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. I'm always happy to see you on here because you have such a freaking awesome car. It's great to see. I see you all over Instagram. Can't wait to meet you at Carlisle. But he's saying he really hopes that it's a flat plane crank, and I do too. All this talk from you guys talking about how I think it's going to be a cross plane crank. every time I talk about it, it disappoints me because I want it to be a flat plane crank, but I really feel like for reliability purposes, it's not gonna be. But with after this trailer, I'm starting to feel like there's a good chance it's going to be a flat plane crank. So this is me kinda reverting some of the things we've talked about in the past, but it's all still accurate stuff. Warranty is still the main concern for GM. So if they figured it out, great. If not, cross-plane crank it is. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to be it for tonight. So if you like this, please smash the thumbs up button. Like I said, all the thumbs ups really help us. We did hit 200. We were at 203. So thank you guys for that. Subscribe. We're going to have loads of content about the ZR1 coming. And if, like I said, if it is a flat plane crank, you'll actually see one on the channel here too. So subscribe if you haven't yet, guys. And yeah, we'll catch you same time, same place